Good morning. It's Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy. I'm here for a MLB First Look podcast. We got an early start today, 1:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7-game slate. Basically, I will pull up our domination station, which is our optimizer over here at DFSArmy, and kind of walk through some plays that I like, both on Fanduel and DraftKings. First, just basically talk pitchers, my pitcher pool that I'm looking at, bring up a few stats with that. Maybe talk about a few games that we got some weather we might need to look at, which might dictate some of our pitching, and then some stacks that I'm on, and kind of go over a few plays and players that I think profile pretty well against the pitchers that they're facing. So with that, again, if you like these videos and these baseball videos, hit that thumbs up button for me, subscribe to the channel, really appreciate it, and let's just dive right in here to see what we have on tap for today. Again, as you can see in the background here, I have the domination station pulled up, which is our optimizer. I have it on Fanduel right now. I'll use Fanduel because it's got the one pitcher, but I will talk about both Fanduel and DraftKings when it comes to pitching, because in baseball, when you're playing tournaments, basically all you're doing is getting your pitchers right and you're stacking. And that is it. So a 7-game slate, more than likely I'm going to be doing 4-3 stacks on Fanduel, and then DraftKings probably 5-2. But we have a chart over at DFSArmy that you can see and look at the winning lineups for each size slate. So 7-game slate, you can pull up that chart over on our site, and it'll show you what over the last 2 years, what were the winning lineup combinations when it comes with size. Is it a 5-2 on DraftKings? Is it a 5-3? Is it a 3-3? Is it a 4-3 on FanDuel? It'll tell you that. So you can come over there and check that out. So again, pull this up, 7-game slate. We'll kind of talk about it. You can see the IRT, the implied run totals for each game here. These bottom 3 games, though, worry me a little bit. We might have some weather in these games. I don't think they're going to get postponed, but the problem is when we're looking at pitchers, I had some interest in here, looking at, the pitcher here at Milwaukee, some Corbin Burns. I was looking at, him. But then I'm like, man, if there's a little bit of weather, I don't know, but he's still going to be on my radar. Something you just need to be cognizant about when you're making those decisions. Same kind of thing here at the Twins. I think we're going to get, a lot of love for Jose Barrios here, and I get it. If we look at implied run totals, again, they're 2 of the lowest on the board because they're facing 2 of the best pitchers. And then, you can also look at here on the White Sox, they got Lance Lynn on the mound. So those are 3 of the better pitchers that I like, but also could be 3 weather situations that we have right here. Just kind of looking at the weather a little bit. It's great in Minnesota. We got the winds coming in dead center, about 10 mile an hour, which is good for pitching. White Sox, we got it coming in, blowing in 14 to 16 mile an hour from right field. So that's, again, really good for pitching as well for the White Sox. And KC, not good so much for hitting. And then all the way down to St. Louis, it's actually blowing out here. So maybe not so good for Burns. It's blowing out 10 to 12 mile an hour to left field. So maybe that makes your decision a little bit easier. Maybe you want to go Barrios or Lynn more than you want to go Burns here. But just something to keep an eye out for. And we'll have the weather dropping in there. Our weatherman does a great job dropping what's going on throughout the day. If one of those games, might have weather where it can hurt the pitching, we'll let you know what's going on. But for this video, I just want to kind of mention that, and I will drop in the pitchers that I like. And if we figure weather's not good, then I'll just take them out of my pool. But again, this is early in the morning, just kind of a quick overview of the slate. And again, I'll profile some hitters against some of these guys. But again, I mentioned some of the pitchers we like are all in these weather games here. And we talked about, a little bit about Jose Barrios here, 24% K rate, going up against Seattle, who strikes out 24% of the time against righties, with a combined average of a 310 WOBA against them as well. So a guy that I'm going to have in my pool for sure. Probably my cash pitcher, I would say, unless the weather is too bad. But that's where I'm looking at right now. Corbin Burns has a 30% K rate here for Milwaukee. And, St. Louis strikes out 24% of the time against righties, and a 305 WOBA. So again, great. These guys profile fantastic. It's just we got to look at the weather a little bit here. And then Lance Lynn is the third guy I'll talk about. 25% K rate. Kansas City strikes out around 24% of the time as well against righties, with a 307 WOBA. So all 3 of those guys, the ones I want to target the most On DraftKings, their pricing, if we look down here at FanDuel, like we'll go to pitchers. I show you how I do this. Go down to pitchers. I just deselect all of them. Anytime I set up the domination station or any optimizer, always deselect all your pitchers and pick the ones you want. So over on FanDuel, if we look at projections, it looked like Burns and Berrios are the highest projected pitchers we have at 33 about a piece. And then Lance Lynn at 34. Those are the three guys I want and probably I'll stick with. They're not overly priced. You can easily get to them. I don't think there's no reason to come down. I think if I was going to get down to one other guy, it would be Erod. Eduardo Rodriguez has a 24% K rate going up against Baltimore. They strike out 23% of the time against lefties with a 311 WOBA, and that would be the other guy I'd look at. So I'll throw him in the pool. He's 8,200 though, so it's not like you're getting a big discount. But those are the four guys I'm rolling with. I'm not coming down any of these guys down here. The old Dark Knight, Matt Harvey, I'm still not buying into it. I'm not any of this. I think it's going to be, especially how soft FanDuel pricing is, it is very easy to get there. On DraftKings, the same kind of thing. Lynn, Berrios, Rodriguez, Burns, the guys that I want. I don't think you need to look anywhere else. Those are the guys I'm looking at. I'm probably going to have the same four pitchers on both sides today. Again, small 7-game slate. And pricing's not crazy. Even if you look at DraftKings, Berrios is 9.8, Burns is 9.4, Erod's 7.9, and Lynn is 8.7. So nobody's even in the 5 digits. So it's really easy to fit those in. So again, we'll start with those four pitchers. Come up here, tournament mode. I'm going to use 2 uniques here, but again, you can use 2 to 4 fantasy points. We'll start with 50 lineups, but again, you could do 150, but it's easier to do these videos if I just do 50. 7-game slate, I don't need any hitters against my pitching, not messing with that. Randomization, I'll run 15%, but I don't mind, as much as you want to go. It's a personal preference of what you want, but with how volatile baseball is, I like to run around 10 to 15%. And then I'm not going to force any low and projected guys in my lineups, but that's something if you wanted to do and make sure you want to force a guy in. I use that more for football and basketball than I do for baseball. Okay, time to set up the stacks here. Again, I'm going to go 75% 4-3, and I'm just going to kind of let the DS give me whatever else it wants. You could set up some 4-4. Maybe I'll get 10% 4-4. And then that other 15%, I'm just going to let it give me what it wants to give me. So first stacks, my primary stacks on the side, who are we going to target against? So if we look at the pitching a little bit here and who's a target against. Now, if you think, the old Dark Knight, Matt Harvey's going to struggle, he has a 17% K rate. Boston, strikes out 23% of the time. They have a 336 WOBA against righties. And if we look at the weather, I was looking at the weather a little bit. The wind looks like it's blowing straight to the left foul pole, 10 miles an hour. So 68-degree temps, not very bad. I don't like to see the weather so much. In Chicago, it looks like it's blowing in right now. We'll have to check that out. 11 miles an hour. I'm sorry, in Pittsburgh, it's blowing in 11 miles an hour. But that's a team I kind of want to stack as well. So Boston will probably be one of the guys that I want to look at here. Look at the implied team totals. They got a 5.33 implied run team total now. Coors is on the slate. All right, so let's talk about Coors a little bit. We have Merrill Kelly up on the mound for Arizona, and we have John Gray on Colorado. Both of them are not big, high strikeout pitchers. 20% for Merrill Kelly, 22% for John Gray. Arizona doesn't strike out a ton against righties, only 20% clip, and a 312 WOBA against him. John Gray is a good pitcher. I think Arizona is going to be popular, not as popular, I think, as the Rockies. I'm not saying I'm going to full fade them. I'll probably put them in my secondary stacks, but I might fade them on my primary stacks. So I'm going to go Boston heavy here. I'm going to go the Rockies. And then I'm going to go to Cubs, man. I was looking a little bit at the Cubs. They're going up against Tyler Anderson, a lefty. Low 20% K rate. Cubs do strike out 24% clip against lefties with the 306 WOBA. But there's a couple batters in the Cubs that I really like, and it's the same guys that we always look at here. Tyler Anderson throws against righties. He throws a fastball 40% of the time and a changeup 45% of the time. So fastballs, Chris Bryant. 533 WOBA, 548 ISO against fastballs here. And then Javier Baez, 409 WOBA, 200 ISO. And then Anthony Rizzo, Even though he's a lefty, he throws fastballs 31% of the time against lefties, and it's a lefty-lefty matchup. Rizzo can hit lefties. 383 WOBA and a 13 ISO. So if I find guys that I like and the stacks or whatnot, I might just come down here to the Cubs and be like, okay, I want to see. I'm sorry, I got the pitcher selected. Let me select everything. I'll come down here and I'll say, look at the projections. I'll be like, okay, Rizzo's got 11. Javier Baez's got 11. Contreras. If we look at Contreras, he has a 269 WOBA against fastballs, a 172. He would be in my stacks if I'm going to do it for sure, but he doesn't profile as well as these other guys. Changeups against righties. Javier Baez. I'm sorry. Chris Bryant has a 325 WOBA. Very low ISOs against this changeup, and he does throw it 45% of the time. So that's the downside. But if they get that fastball, they can get a hold of him. So maybe I want to boost these projections a little bit to Rizzo, Baez, and look at Chris Bryant. It's got a 12. I can come in here and just give him like a 10% bump. If I find guys that profile well against pitchers and I want to make sure I have them, I'll just come in here and give them a bump. So I make sure that they hit in my stacks more than the other guys do. So real easy way to do this. You can go 15 if you want to adore them, 10, 5. I'll just keep messing around with it. But a quick way I just wanted to show you, if you wanted to give these guys a quick bump off the projections so they hit more often in lineups, that's a real quick way to do it. So Cubs are definitely going to be in there as well. If we look at Miami and the Mets, we have Nick Neidert on the mound for Miami. Real low K rate, 18%. Mets don't strike out at all against that K rate. So the Mets are somebody I'm looking at as well. They have a 353 WOBA against righties. So there's a lot of guys that can crush on that Mets team. So they're guys that I'm going to look at putting in my stacks as well. So again, we're going to take all these guys out. I want Chicago. I'm going to pick 4 teams. Usually it's 3 to 4 teams as my primary stack, and then I'll run everyone else as my secondary to get a little bit of exposure and then force a little bit of other guys in there. But my primary one, I only want to pick between 3 to 4 teams. And then the secondary, I might run a little bit of everybody. But those primary stacks got to hit for massive runs. Those 4 to 5, same with DraftKings. If you run a 5-2 stack or a 4-3 stack, they have to have a ton of runs. So if that's the case, make sure you're getting guys that can put up a ton of runs. Because if they're not, there's no reason to put them in this primary stack because they're not going to go off. It is baseball, so I'm just not the case. I don't want to run 5% of everybody. It's just long term, you're not going to win like that. Take some stands. Don't matter if it's baseball and a volatile sport. Take some stands. So again, Mets, Chicago, Boston, and then I will throw Colorado in this. So those are the 4 teams that I want to go on heavy on. So maybe I go 25% the Cubs, 25% Boston, 25% Mets, and 25% Colorado. Maybe that's what I want to do. There's nobody that I really feel. I'll adjust it later when lineups come out. Maybe I don't like a lineup. Sometimes that happens as well. You got to look at, and when those confirmed lineups come out, maybe you see it and you're like, oh man, that is an ugly lineup. I don't want to look at that. And just not somebody that I want to get on. But that's where I would look at it here. Again, you can go Minnesota as well if you want to throw them in there. They are going against Marco Gonzalez, lefty, and we know that Minnesota crushes lefties. So I don't mind throwing them in there if you want. But I think I'm gonna just have them as a secondary stack here. So we get this. I'm gonna put 5% all. I don't really want to be attacking certain teams though, so I'm not gonna have every single team in here. Now, one way to leverage some of that, if you're gonna be heavy on certain pitchers here. So if you're gonna be heavy on say Corbin Burns, maybe you do want a little bit of a St. Louis stack in here at 5% just to leverage that ownership because ownership's going to be high on him. Same can be said, if we know Jose Barrios is going to be extremely heavy, maybe you want a little Seattle 5% to leverage that as well and don't go crazy. But something you can look at, or you can just say, no, I think he's going to dominate him completely. I don't really think they're going to get there. I don't want any part of it. But that is one quick way to do it if you just want 5%. And then maybe you want to come back in here and say, all right, I want a little bit more Boston, a little bit more Minnesota. I want some more Rockies. Maybe I want a little bit of Arizona, but not crazy. Again, I don't want to be my primary stack. Then I want to make sure I have more Cubs, then maybe some more Mets, and kind of just see what it gives you. So kind of have a ballpark of where we want. Heavy on the 4-3, a little bit of 4-4, then let's see what the DS gives us. Again, we picked our pitchers that we want. the 4 pitchers that we want. I'm not going to adjust any min percentages here. I'm just going to run it and see what it gives us here. So again, we're just running 50 lineups, kind of show you what it gives us. And then maybe look at a few batters like I went through and talked about the Chicago hitters. Maybe we can go back and look at the profiles, on some of these other guys that we have on this slate. So if we go back and see that the Mets, collectively have that 353 WOBA, let's go back and just kind of look at and see how they profile against that pitcher. So pull the Mets up here real quick. And how do they do against Nick Neidert here? Nick Neidert throws to lefties. Basically, he's throwing a 72% sinker and 27% fastball. So he's only basically throwing 2 pitches against lefties here. So we can kind of see what he does against his sinker. And yeah, man, Michael Conforto smashes the sinker. 457 WOBA, 367 ISO. So I really like Michael Conforto here. So one thing we can do is we can just go to, like I told you before, we can go to Conforto. I want to make sure I have more of them. I'll just slap an Lindor on him. Be like, he profiles well against that pitch. The best out there. Francisco Lindor, 373 WOBA, 216 ISO. Maybe I want some Lindor, but not as high. I don't know. He should. We'll see the starting lineup, but he should. Dominic Smith, 449 WOBA, 200 ISO. Jeff McNeil, 434 WOBA, 200 ISO. A lot of these guys profile real well. So I'm shocked that Pete Alonso only has a 323 WOBA and a 179 ISO, but Conforto definitely is the guy I want the most of. So I'll slap that Adore just on him. But same kind of thing. We look at the guys that we want to get after. So Minnesota, let's look at the same kind of deal here. We know it's a lefty. We know Cruz smashes lefties. We know this. But I do want to look at and see what profiles. Check out this pitcher and see what he does most of the time against righties. Throws the cutter 30% of the time, and then a sinker 45% of the time. So if we look at the cutter a little bit and see how they profile against that, Nelson Cruz smashes the cutter. It doesn't surprise me. He smashes everything. And then we look at the sinker and see how he does that against the sinker. Same kind of thing. Smashes the sinker, 455 WOBA against it. Garver actually smashes the sinker as well. So I know he let a lot of people down, but another guy that we can look on if we want to, boost those guys up. So if we want to put Cruz in here and be like, all right, I want to make sure I get some Cruz. Maybe I want to boost him up a little bit more. He already has a high projection, but so again, simple as that. I'll rerun this in a second, but we come down here and look just the raw projection run pitchers. It's given us Tunnelin, Burns, and Berrios. I figured those would be the top 3. Again, with the salary that we have, it makes a lot of sense to go that route. Looking at what we have here, first base, got a lot of Rizzo, a lot of Alonso here. I like looking at that. Second base, a lot of McNeil. Again, those Met stacks. Devers, Bryant, yep. Story, Bogarts, Baez, that's all looking good. A lot of Cruz, Yelich, Conforto. And maybe I want more Conforto to that, but I haven't run it after I did the boost. So let's look at this real quick. Team wise, it's like 50% Boston, 40% Mets, Chicago, Colorado. And this is the thing: if it's a Coors slate, with Coors is going to be super popular, I want to find some other ways to get off of them. So I don't mind going heavy Boston, Mets, Chicago, just to kind of get off that Coors. And I already told you I didn't want a lot of Arizona because John Gray is a good pitcher. Even in that altitude playing in Coors, I don't mind not stacking against him. And then the 4-man stacks it's given us, I do like this where it's given us, less Boston and more the Mets, Chicago, and Boston here, and less Colorado. So I'm kind of liking this real quick. I'll run it one more time after I made those adjustments to the players. And the one thing you can do is head on over to DFSArmy, use promo code CashKeg, save yourself 10%. Look at our cheat sheets, see what the coaches are on. Who are they liking as their cores? If we find a core that we like, pull up their name, slap in a door on them. That way you're going to get more of them. It's a very simple thing to do because in MME and baseball, it's all about pitching and it's all about stacks. That's all you care about. And then I'm letting the domination station do the work for me. And all I'm doing is making sure that I have a decent percentage of players that I want. And that depends on who that I want to get on heavy. So if I look at that, I don't like having a big pitcher pool. Again, some guys will like to run 10 pitchers. I don't. I like to run 3 to 4. And then I kind of like to see who some of the guys are on. If I need in my Boston stacks, if I look and I'm like, okay, well, is JD Martinez 24%? That might not be enough. Maybe I need more of that. Maybe I don't like 74% Cruz going up against a lefty. That's a little too high for me. I might just throw a max 50% before I run it. Not adjust his projection, but do that. Go say, I need more JD Martinez in my life. Go in there and mess with that. I like 50% Conforto. But again, you're kind of looking at this, coming down here a little bit. This is a 4-3 Boston Mets stack with Burns pitching with the Nelson Cruz one-off. You got to love that, man. You got to love this lineup. And this is why FanDuel pricing is so soft. They always got guys that are too cheap. Jeff McNeil, 2,500, just makes a lot of sense there. Conforto's way too cheap at 3,100 in this matchup. Kind of pulling down a little bit more. Now we got a 4-3 with 4 Mets, 3 Boston, with the Yelich one-off. You got to love that. I love having the one-offs or power bats. I don't like when I see a lot of my one-offs or crap bats, but when you have like a Nelson Cruz as your one-off, the DS is doing it right. It's giving you a good guy that's going to get a home run. Here's a 4-3 Mets Chicago stack. 3 of the guys I said that profiled really well against that pitcher. Looking at the Mets here. Loving it with Burns, with the Cruz one-off. You have to love that as well. So again, you jump back over here. This is just a quick down and dirty of the 7-game slate we have today. Again, pay attention to the news. Check out those cheat sheets. We will be in DFSArmy talking about the slate all day. And if there's any weather concerns, our weatherman will have that out as well. And so maybe you got to get off a few pitchers and be heavier on some other ones. But again, it's early in the morning. Just wanted to get something out. Kind of how I'm looking at the setup for today and who I'm going against. And I'm going to take some stands where I'm going to have not very much Arizona with John Gray on the mound, even though it's in Coors, and maybe leverage the field with not having that much Arizona. And then same with Colorado. Maybe I just want to kind of get off that a little bit and not have so much Colorado as well and go heavier on the Mets, Chicago, and Boston. So with that, again, I am Craig Bennett, a.k.a. Cash Keg. Hope to see you on the flip side. Deuces.